Friends, welcome to another episode of Area 312 Rock and Metal Podcast. We are joined today by our good friend Gary Luba as the guest host. Gary, thank you for joining us.
Good to be here.
And friends, our guests today are two brothers who came on this music scene in the late 80s. They had numerous hit songs such as Kick It Down, Urgency, My God is a Rock, and Up All Night. Please welcome with me Tim and Lary Melby.
Uh-huh.
Welcome, guys.
Welcome, guys.
It's good to be here. Great to be here.
Well, we're just going to get started here. And you guys grew up in Western North Dakota. And growing up, was music in your home? Did anyone else play musical instruments? Or how was that growing up when you were younger?
Hey, Tim, go ahead and tell them about the Silvertone.
Okay, so our first electric guitar was a Silvertone, a Sears Silvertone that had been run over out on our warehouse. So my dad ordered it. My dad played guitar, and so he ordered this $29.99 Silvertone, and it got delivered by the mailman, and then somebody commenced to run over it. And so my dad put a nail in the bridge so we could play it. They know that back in those days, you call the Cadillac company up and say, "Hey, my goods are damaged, so could you send me another one?" So we had two Silvertones for a short while before we had to send the nail one back.
Hey, Tim, what about that rockin' amp that came with it?
Oh yeah, you tell them about that.
I don't really remember. I just know it was really good.
Might be worth a mint now. Is a 5-watt, fully tubed.
Yeah.
5 waters.
It would
Wow.
totally whoop on his sir he's got sitting over there. You see that?
Oh my, oh my. So like what did you guys, besides that electric guitar, did you guys listen to the radio a lot? Or did you, like what kind of music was playing in your house?
Well, Dad also played accordion and piano, so we had, we didn't really grab the accordion because that was not really cool to play one of those. But we played piano and then, of course, the guitar. And we ended up playing a lot at churches, of course, for worship music and stuff. So, we definitely, spent a lot of time doing that. There was times when we were going to, on Sundays, 3 different services at different churches to play. And of course, Tim and I loved it, but
Wow.
We didn't know any better. We didn't know any different, honestly.
Gotcha.
Was that kind of your all's? So myself, growing up with my parents and my church, that was kind of our. And I don't think there's anything wrong with this. That was kind of our social life too. I mean, we weren't going just to be sociable. We worship the Lord, but I think it's okay to. That's your church family. Was that kind of the way it was with you guys?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then when you grow up on a ranch in North Dakota, it's like, oh, there's other people. There's other people in the world. Okay. So absolutely, it was obviously some of the people, you weren't like, especially being in a secular high school, some of the people might have seemed a little strange to our friends or whatever, but, we still sort of loved them.
Well, Tim, did you with guitars, did you take any lessons or are you self-taught or how did that begin with the guitar in general?
Well, I think what happened was I just instantly was drawn to guitar, and there's photos of me child, and then of course there was a brotherly competition between Larry and I. Our third brother, Tom, he also played guitar, but Larry and I were like, always like trying to, play better than one another, and I was being the older one, and he
Hold
was all,
on.
huh?
Hold on. I didn't know this was a competition. Thanks for letting me know. Okay.
Well, it just seemed like one, maybe.
Well,
Gotcha.
who was the first one to do the hammer-on pull-offs?
I'd say that was Larry.
Well, what happened to Tom, guys? Did y'all just like,
Yeah.
okay, there's only room for two of us here.
He's the true cowboy in the bunch.
Hmm.
He's
Okay.
the horse whisperer.
It's like you can tell by our shirts. Like Tim's got a Shelby T-shirt, I've got a Fender shirt, and Tom probably has like a cowboy shirt with a bolo and a hat he would have on right now. There you go. We have a sister too. She's awesome.
Well, what were some guitarists that you admired or influenced you, Tim, playing the guitar?
Early on, it had to be Phil Keaggy because
Mm.
he was just, he was the only guy that seemed to be, I don't know what, he was just awesome from the word go.
Mhm.
And for
Played-
like a
he
13-year-old,
Yeah, he played so many different styles and he played them all so excellently. And
Mhm.
it's like to get like I still I believe he's one of the best in the world. He's top five, and
Yeah.
he's just he was just great, and that's
Mhm.
and that new song we had him play on. I had him play on another one too. You haven't heard yet. It's not ready, but
Oh,
yeah, love Phil Keaggy.
awesome.
we've sort of been collecting guitarists over the years. We had not been able to get Steve Lukather on any record, but we got a ton of other people, and they're all like smoking guitar players.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
Larry, I guess Tim beat you out of the guitar position. So vocally, did you take any singing lessons, or how did that happen that you started doing vocals?
What's sort of interesting about that is we recorded that first Liaison, and then obviously we started doing live gigs, and somebody, I don't know who it was, it might have been Tim Heinz or somebody, goes, yeah, you should probably get some vocal lessons. I'm like, oh, thanks a lot. But yeah, I went to a guy named Andrew Bettner. He was in Newport Beach, and he did the Seth Riggs methods and taught me that, and how to warm up and all that stuff. And that definitely helped a lot, especially for longevity during a show and all those sorts of things. So yeah, that was
Cool.
yeah, and I needed it. There's no doubt.
I think I should interject here, just to be honest about this. Larry is every bit of a good guitar player as I am, and probably in some ways better. He is the fastest tracking guitar player you ever knew. He tracks.
No, come on.
No, he's really efficient. Like Hard Hitter, he played a lot of the rhythm tracks on Hard Hitter, and he was so efficient, and that's why I would have to just like say, to be honest, if I'm going to be honest, yeah.
Thank you, Tim. That was nice of you. There's like $1,000 in the mail on your way right now.
Mailbox money.
Well, then, Larry, on the first album, you also played bass on it too.
Well, here's the truth: is that we have my dad bought me a Music Man Stingray bass in '77, and we took that in and we sampled it. And so the truth is, Tim Heinz played most of those bass parts. Not that we wanted that. I would have loved to play bass, but Bill wanted, he was Bill Baumgart, who's an awesome producer, by the way.
Yeah.
He just wanted everything to be dead on. He was very picky, but I learned a lot from that guy because he was so picky, and that's really what happened. That Stingray bass, it's hanging on the wall right behind me over here. Yeah. That's on both of the first, the Urgency and the first record. But then on the Hard Hitter, I did play bass on that one, and on Cool Water, and on this new one. So, and lots of guitars too.
Well, Larry, on the first album, the production is so good, and slick. And about how much was that? Did y'all have budget wise?
$20.
There you go.
Tim, do you know how much our budget was? I don't know.
I
All I
do.
know is,
Yeah, it's 29,000 bucks.
Okay, well, it's
that's not
awesome.
bad.
I love every song on it. In fact, y'all don't have a bad song one on any of your albums. Um, but just the way it starts out with, when the kingdom comes down, and that's an awesome opener, and the closer too. You've got my heart in your hands. So those were, man, I wore those things out, all of them. So
Yeah, Tim was and I do believe my brother's a genius. He was the genius behind "You've Got My Heart in Your Hands." I don't know if I did anything other than sing on that one. So it was like, wow, this is really good, really good. And when we were demoing for that first record, like it was a miracle that we even got a record deal because we were songwriters, and
Right.
we were submitting songs to record companies, like both secular and Christian ones. And then all of a sudden the frontline guys came to us and said, well, we think you guys should make a record. And we're like, okay. So that's really how that transpired. Plus a
yeah,
lot of time spent on football fields playing flag football and basketball and all those things. They just liked us, I guess, probably because we did sports too. So it was, like the Idle Cure guys, like Pete Lamachin, like he would be
mhm.
out there, and we would, it was just a great time. And then you become friends with those guys, and we're not friends anymore, but no, it was a great hang. The people at Frontline, Brian Tong, um, Mike McLean, and Ed McTaggart. Those are the three that we
Oh,
hung out with. And I
did
ended
y'all,
up playing on a basketball league with those guys too, which was
so I
like
guess
really
y'all
cool.
met Jimmy Kempner for Frontline.
He wasn't
Just
around
barely.
much.
Hmm.
Yeah.
He's out
That was,
driving his 911.
yeah.
Well, let's just go into this. And I know it's a little bit of a story, but like, could you take us through like this whole process? Because I know this involves Kevin Thompson with Sweet Comfort Band and all that. Could you guys just kind of go through like as much as you can in detail, like the history of how this all started, and then finally where Frontline kind of asked you to do a record, if you could, please.
Sure.
Larry knows the most about this topic, so I'll let
Okay.
him take this.
So we were in Minot, North Dakota, and you always say why not Minot. Um, we were going to the college there, and Tim and I were writing the first humblest of songs. And then Tim goes, "Hey, we need to go to Estes Park, Colorado for this festival, where there's artists galore, all the stuff." So we jump in Tim had a pull along camper, and we jump in and we go to Estes Park. And so we get in there and we're walking around, and we see on the list Kevin Thompson of Sweet Comfort Band, and the name of the the name of the talk was, "Are there demons in rock and roll?" And we're like,
Wow.
"Oh, we're going to that one for sure." And of course we brought this a demo with, and we were supposed to play in the Battle of the Bands, but our drummer was with what was the name of that?
Andy Patty.
Huh? No. What was the guy's name? Fitzgerald.
Yeah, Louis Fitzgerald.
He was playing with the Continentals.
Oh,
And Sandy Patty.
Right, and so we got disqualified. So we didn't even get to play. Okay, anyway, so we go to that seminar, and we got our little demo tape, and then and it was like, I don't know, there might have been 30 people at his little talk. And so afterwards, we went up and started chatting with him and let him hear this demo that we made at Minot at the college. And he goes, "Hey," "you should come out. You should come out to Riverside, California, and we'll write some songs and see what happens." And so I loaded up my car with my guitars and bass and went out and spent a lot of time with Kevin Thompson. And he really did help with my, the songwriting, the formula of how to write a hit song. And so I worked with him, and we ended up recording a demo with Randy Thomas and Rick Thomas. Rick played drums, and they had the same last name, or close,
Wow.
Thomas and Thompson.
Right.
It's hard to keep that straight. So we end up at Pachyderm, at John and Dino Elefante's studio, because Sweet Comfort had just recorded their last record there. And so it was like, Kevin, like, we'll just go to Pachyderm and, we'll play or do the recording. And so we had that demo, and we shopped it. Kevin took it and shopped it to a bunch of people. Nothing happened, because when you listen to it, you go, okay, I see why. It was somewhat hittish, but it just wasn't enough, to get something signed or whatever. And so that's that part of it. Tim, you can continue if you want to talk about when Tim came out for the recordings too. It was great. I picked him up at a train station somewhere in downtown LA. So then what happened, Tim?
Well, that's the same train ride where we had to get off because somebody called in a bomb threat.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. So basically, we're really sort of like focused at this, because this is kind of what we feel like God has got for us to do, right? In one form or another. We don't know what that looks like, but we just keep pounding away. And in '87, then I moved out to California, and we bought a little. I've still got it sitting in the corner here. It's a TAC Tascam 388. It's 8-channel analog, tape, and we made all of those demos you see on that speaker back there, like just tons and tons of demos. And I joined up with a songwriters guild in Los Angeles at UCLA, and that's where we met all of the people who were participating, met all of these famous songwriters and people in the business. The guy who, go ahead.
Hey, Tim, tell them about Michael Omartian.
Yeah. So Michael Omartian was one of those guys that was, and he's I'm sorry, what?
He was like a teacher at the thing or whatever.
Yeah, he was one of the guest teachers, and I knew he was coming, so I had a demo with us for the song "When the Kingdom Comes Down," because I know, if this guy, if anybody knows what we're trying to do, this guy will know. And so I stuck my hand up, and we played that demo right at the beginning of the song plugging part of the deal. And he goes, hey, he said, I want to talk to you afterwards. And so after the class was over, then we had an extended conversation out in the parking lot. And he didn't really offer anything. He just wanted to encourage us that we were on the right track. So that's that story.
Well, what about when he went over to the piano and he hit one of the chords or something? Didn't he walk over the piano and go, that is different or something?
Yeah, I think that is right. That is right. But I mean, some of this stuff, all of the stuff that happened in California happened so fast that it's just hard to keep track of everything that did happen.
I think he also noted that it's not often that the verse is double time and then it goes to half time in the chorus.
That's right.
Right? Because that is kind of a different little swing.
All I need is an ocean dance to think of your love. It's true. All I need is an ocean dance. It's you I see all around me. All I need is an ocean dance to think of your love. It's true. All I need is an ocean dance. I can Those demos behind you there, Tim, a couple questions. Are those fully developed demos, like in studio type of demos?
They were done at Larry's spare bedroom in
In my apartment.
Anaheim Hills, California.
Okay, so just the two of you then, pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, we-
stuff like that. I mean, there's always going to be fans that are interested in the ephemera, and the hold on to those, And then, so whenever you two develop a song, then because just take a note of your demos, and I'm sure it's probably maybe just the one now, but the one or the two of you together, how do you all go about developing a song with the other and bringing that to fruition from the onset of a song? How does that work between the two of you?
I'll say this. It's very similar to what Brian Duncan and Randy Thomas did. Someone will come up with the riff. I think most of the time the riff and the structure of the song happens first. It's like Go and Sin No More, for example. I had the keyboard part, and Tim had the lyrics for that song, and they just worked. It just worked. It was, it's obviously a God thing that happened. There's no doubt in my mind, and it happens both that way. I don't think many times we've written lyrics first, but a few times, or like this new record, Veracity. Tim's like, Veracity, because we need more truth happening in this world, and let's do something with veracity. And I'm like, I don't even know if I've ever heard that word before, but it's like, yeah, I like it. And then if you look up the definition of veracity, it's so clear and plain about truth, So, that's kind of how it happens. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, I think that the song processes were, how they say that you have your whole lifetime to write your first record, and then you have about 16 months to write the second one. And I think a lot of times you save all the pieces, which is what Larry and I have done over the years. We save all of the remnants that get cut out, and all of the riffs and cool ideas. We save them all, and sometimes they come back up in a very handy moment, and lyrically too. It's like, I am anti-AI myself. I don't know how the rest of you feel, but I think that the inspiration that you get, in our case, from our relationship with Christ, a lot of times the philosophy that you're sort of like working that out on a steady basis every day. You're being challenged to sort of, figure out, what does this mean and how do I live? What does it mean? How do I live? And a lot of our songs have to do with that, working that out. And so there's a limitless supply of, stuff you could talk about. So.
Yep.
Well, if I could ask you guys, if you could tell us each how your journey with Christ began, if you would, please.
You know what? Growing up we started as Lutherans. We went to the small Lutheran church in Watford, and then our folks got, really saved, and we were all young. I probably was 2. I don't know, the age really, but we got the biggest blessing in the world to grow up on a beautiful ranch in North Dakota with Christian folks. And that's, where it started. And I remember, I said my prayer when I was 5 years old in our living room. And, and I still remember it. I remember, I didn't want to go to hell. And I was like, because I did have an understanding of what that was. And so I was like, yeah, you don't, a lot of times becoming a Christian, you're thinking about, I don't want to go to hell. And that's why I want to become a Christian. But there's so much more than that thought, other than, having God in your life and what he does, the forgiveness, the mercy, all the things that God delivers. You learn that, as you grow as a Christian, and then it becomes so important, all the aspects, not just not going to hell, but the idea, I get to go into eternity with a lot of people that I love, like you guys, and reign forever. That's a pretty big deal. So,
Amen.
Cool. Well, speaking of the first album, I mean, one, you guys are from North Dakota and you go to Southern California. That has to be a huge culture shock, just all of that. I grew up in a really rural area and I still kind of live in a not a very populated area, but I can only imagine that had to be culture shock, right?
I did not own pants. All I had was shorts, and I was so happy, like year round. There was no need for pants, just shorts, and I thought that was pretty great. So, it was like a whole new world. So I loved it.
Yeah,
Cool.
during the era that we lived in Southern California, it was, I mean, everything was humming and popping in Orange County, especially, and the whole music capital was definitely Los Angeles. So there was a lot of stuff, that was really working in California at the time we lived there. And of course, it was a perfect climate, as Larry's talking about. And I mean, it's pretty hard to beat from that standpoint. I think it's lost a little of its splendor by now, but
How about a lot?
Yeah, how about a lot? Yeah.
Yeah.
So California was really in a transition from being the capital of Christian music to when it became Nashville. And so that's why we were sort of like on the tail end of Christian music business in California. It was moving to Nashville.
If you look at the first album and the credits, I mean, you guys have like the top, I would say, regarded musicians. I mean, you've got Jeff Porcaro from Toto on drums. Michael Landau did guitar work on that. Tim Hines on keyboards. How did that work like that? How did you guys get all that? Was that the label doing that, or how did you get all those top tier musicians on your first album?
I think it had a lot to do. Okay, Bill Baumgart was working with Benny Hester right before he got our project.
Okay.
And Carl played on Benny Hester's record. Isn't that right, Tim?
Yeah.
And so it was like easy. It was a phone call. And then, those cats up in LA, Michael Landau, I think Bill just got his number and called him, and down he came. He wasn't the most social guy in the world, but he sure played well,
Dave,
So yeah, it's like when you get to live in that part of the country, those guys are, an hour away. So it really worked out well. And Dave Cause on saxophone, that guy was a big cat. It was so fun to have him play too. So yeah, a phone call. How about that?
Wow.
John Schreiner, I noticed John Andrew Schreiner, he on Hard Hitter with the keys, y'all made mention, and I didn't know that there was a connection initially with Sweet Comfort Band, but I know he later, I think he played with them kind of on the outset, because I think Brian was just kind of more into the vocals toward the outset of Sweet Comfort Band. But is that kind of how you all met John Andrew Schreiner, was through Sweet Comfort Band?
That was
No, it was through Mike Maru, really.
Okay. The Pachyderm.
Yeah, the Pachyderm engineer. Yeah. And then we ended up down. Here's a great quick little story. We end up down at John Schreiner's studio down. I think it was in New Gunadale or somewhere down there. And we get there and we're working, and he's an interesting person, to say the least. And then he's like, I'm so hungry. He goes, I'm gonna make us a brisket on the grill, right? So he puts this brisket on the grill, and we're working, and then he's kind of going out there and checking it back and forth, and like, I'm getting hungry, and everyone's hungry. So he finally pulls it off and he cuts it, and it was tougher than any meat product I've ever eaten. It was like shoe leather. And I'm like, but we got it down. It was all right. But it's like, hey, thanks, John. Thanks for barbecuing, man.
His studio was literally on the beach. So like when you walk out the front door of the studio, the Pacific. Wow. And those songs that he plays on, I mean, it feels like the beach. It's just, he's got, or if he's still down there, I mean, he's got the perfect setup.
Cool. Well, then your second album, Urgency, comes out in 1991, and there's kind of a musical progression here with each of these first three albums. It gets a little bit more, it's still AR, but there's a little bit more rockin' songs on there with like Urgency and Ocean View and Listen Up. Can you tell us about making that second album, and was there any differences from the first, or how was it writing songs? Did you have trouble coming up with songs, or how did all that work with the second album?
They always say the sophomore album is the toughest one, and I would concur with that. Some of the songs on Urgency were a little bit leftovers that didn't go on the first one, and so we got it together, and there was a little bit of pressure to get it done, or get the songwriting done. And the thing that I wanted, because I'm a hard rocker, almost metal, and Bill Baumgart is a little more pop rockish, and so I'm like, can we get more guitars in, bring the keyboards, because a lot of times keyboards and guitars fight in recordings, right? Because they're kind of in that same frequency or whatever. And so I think that it progressed a little bit harder than the first one. And then we had Glenn Pierce play the guitars instead of a guy like Landau, because Glenn Pierce was just outstanding. I don't know if you guys know that guy is. He played with Michael W. Smith for 20 years or whatever. And we were so thankful that we got Glenn his start, So hey, Glenn.
And he toured with us too, Glenn.
Yeah, he did. But anyway, but we did have Vinny Caliuto play drums on that, which was, that guy's really fun to be around,
Yeah, that stinks.
Yes, he's played with everybody pretty much.
Guys, I saw you in Euless, Texas back in '91. That was Footloose, if you remember the venue.
Yeah, we do.
And, the guy that run it was Chris Gaines. Yeah. And Rick Elias opened up. And anyway, you played the bass, and I think Glenn was on the guitars with y'all there, and that was a phenomenal show. And but what the neat thing is the frontline rep that I came from, Texarkana, Texas, with my DJ friend Lee Davis, been in Christian radio for years. But we knew a guy, and I cannot recall his name, but he was like the frontline rep that kind of stocked the Christian bookstores around Texarkana. And so it involved him, and we had a breakfast in Bedford earlier that morning before the show. And so there was quite a few people there, kind of a meet and greet with you guys. And
I remember that.
Do you? Yeah, I was there. So I had darker hair back then, but anyway, so that was a great memory for me. I mean, I still remember it real well. And I wish I could have seen y'all more live, but that was the only opportunity that I had.
I'm shocked that you actually saw us.
Yeah.
It's not like we were the biggest touring band in the world by any means.
What was touring like? And I did you get, east of the Mississippi ever, or was it all kind of the western part of the United States? You like how much did you guys really tour?
Well, West Coast, we toured up and down a number of times, of course, but we went on a pretty decent sized tour with Rick Elias, who was like a co-bill, and we hit,
Mhm.
we started in Boston and then went down through New York and down south. We never made it to Florida, if you can believe that. But we did not tour that much. I just got to be honest, because it was like I didn't, I like playing, but I hated everything in between. And I think most guys who tour all the time will say that.
Mhm.
It's just the work is driving and getting to your hotel, which wasn't very nice many times. It's like
Mhm.
I just want to go home. It'd be nice to just be home. you know
Gotcha.
so I don't know, Tim, you want to elaborate on that? Because I'm going to have to tell that one story in a minute here.
Is this the time when I tell that?
You tell it. You tell the RV story.
Okay, so we're going up to somewhere in Central California.
Lodi. I think it was Lodi.
Yeah, Lodi. There's this promoter there named Rick Fry, and so we called him Rick Fry from Lodi. And so we're driving along in our tour vehicle, which was kind of like a oversized conversion.
So Winnebago.
Yeah, it's a Winnebago. It was a pretty cool tour vehicle, actually. But Larry and our bass player, Kelly Burns, were sitting in the front with the cruise on, and they decided to switch drivers while they were driving up I-5, like without stopping.
Yeah.
And so
Kelly's driving.
One of them's trying to, one of them accidentally hooked his foot on the automatic transmission thingy and knocked it into reverse. And so we heard this big thump, and we were dead in the water.
Oh.
So the short version is we get towed up. Oh, Larry hitchhikes to the next town. I don't know why you dare do that, but he did.
Okay. One thing that's a little bit important here is Kelly Burns is driving, and he's tired, and I'm like, okay, I'll just hold the steering wheel, and you slip out, and then I'll jump in. It'd be a piece of cake, right? And it's not much traffic, so no big deal, right? And I hit. It was I, Tim. I confess. My knee hit the shifter into the reverse, and there was no safety for some reason, right?
There was no. Yeah,
it's not as bad as the Sweet Comfort Band plane crash, but
right.
It still caused a lot of hurt. So, I hitchhiked and went dropped me at the U-Haul, and I got a truck.
You got us a truck.
Drove back out, and we loaded all the gear in there. And of course, some of the guys had to sit in the back with the gear.
Oh gosh.
In a closed chamber.
So we get to this RV place where they fix RVs. This is maybe like an hour and a half later. We were at this RV place, and we all sit down in the waiting room, and there's two gigantic parrot cages in there. Remember this?
No.
Okay, so
I want to leave right now. I do.
So one of the parrots starts cursing, okay, and loudly, and he is good at cursing. And the other parrot, so that parrot shuts up, and the other parrot starts in on, "Oh, the joy of the Lord."
Wow.
And we're sitting there thinking, is anybody Is anybody filming this? Because
Yeah.
this is crazy.
So you had both heaven and hell represented.
But we
That's an
made it
epi-
to our gig.
So interesting.
that sounds like an episode from the Twilight Zone.
Close. Very close.
Did you guys, out of curiosity, in talking about the playing out and stuff? Because earlier, Larry, you had mentioned the guys from Idle Cure, and we're all big fans here of Idle Cure.
Mhm.
Did you guys ever perform out with them? Because honestly, to me, when you said that, to me, that would be like the dream concert.
Yeah.
Seeing Idle Cure with Liaison. You talk about a great pairing.
Yeah.
You know what? We never played with those guys. They thought they were so much better than we were. So no, I'm kidding. They probably were a lot better.
No.
No, we never
were
got
good
to play
friends
with them,
with
but we're still friends with them to this day. I actually Mark Ambrose pastors a church in Southern California, and I went down and interviewed to be a music pastor, which I'm not that guy. But I went down and we hung and had great conversation. But yeah, it's all I always loved Idle Cure. Was one of the ones that Bill produced that I was like, wow, man, if we could get Bill to produce, that would be great, because I love the Idle Cure stuff. It's great. It's just great. And Steve Shannon, what a great singer.
Oh yeah.
Just great.
Well,
So.
Rex, if I can ask one more question.
Yeah, oh yeah, sure.
So what I'd like to ask, so Liaison, of course, you guys, in my humble opinion, and forgive me, not trying to box anybody in, but look, we grew up in the 80s and in the early 90s. So arena rock was king of the hill back then. I mean, it was great music, still is great music. And if I had to classify Idle Cure or Liaison, it's going to be in that wonderful arena rock arena. And
Yeah.
I'd like to ask a question, though, about especially your first 3 albums, because I think where Rex was heading with this, and it's something I had jotted in my notes as well, there was a little bit of a progression between the first 3 albums, the self-titled and then Hard Hitter with Urgency in between. Every album got just a little bit harder, to my ears anyway. And my question is, guys, I know that, and I hate to talk about the industry. I know that there's an industry. Were you guys ever pressured just a little bit with your first album to kind of like, hey, let's go kind of soft in some areas here, because the Christian community can be fickle.
Yeah.
Forgive me, a lot of soccer moms. I love soccer moms. We were a softball family with our daughters, but driving the minivans that got their music playing on the K-Love and all that stuff, and it can't get too hard. So I'm curious, guys, if you have a preferred sound that you all delivered? Larry, you were talking about liking the metal stuff and the hard rock stuff, as do I. Were you guys ever pressured a little bit to be kind of soft when you first came on the scene, or was that what was just flowing forth at the time?
I don't think we ever felt pressure to, be a certain way. I think they put Bill Baumgart with us for a reason, because he was such a veteran, and really what happened, and Bill had a lot of control of that. I would always be the advocate, and Tim too. It's like, hey, bigger guitars, bigger, big, as big as we can get it, So, and, the Hard Hitter, Tim and I produced that one. And so you can kind of hear what happened there.
Yeah.
The new one, Veracity, it's going to be even more tenacious. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you.
on Urgency, the song Friend to the World. I caught that line from Eleanor Rigby in that song. So
I
I
don't
look
know
at
what I don't know
all
what
the
you're talking
lonely
about.
people.
What? Where's
I
that?
want, yeah, that's what I wanted to ask about. Like, what was the impetus for that, guys? I mean, it does blend perfectly with your song. So,
Mhm.
whose
Yeah.
idea was that? How did that all come about?
You
I
remember
don't
Tim? Was that
remember.
a Tim Hines thing?
It was I remember. Man, I think maybe Bill. I don't. It was.
I know Tim Hines did changed the pitch of it or whatever so it fit in the key of the song.
Mhm.
But I don't, you know what? That's a tough one. I know we were in Studio B. Frontline had two studios. They had Studio A, Studio B, and we were in Studio B. And there's so much great video. Someday I want to put out videos of those old times of all the humor and stuff that happened. But I don't know. I don't know if like it could be that I hummed that or something or went, look at all the. But that's I don't remember. I'm doing a Brian Duncan right now. I don't remember.
Okay. Well, then 1992 sees the release of Hard Hitter, and it's definitely your heaviest album up to that point. I absolutely love it. Larry, I'm kind of
Mhm.
like you. I'm a rocker, let's
Mhm.
turn up the guitars. Um, you guys produced this yourselves. Um, you again have some like heavy hitters guitar wise and other instruments. You've got Greg Bissonette on drums. I mean, you can't hardly get any better than that. Lanny Cordola and Oz Fox play guitar solos on that. I really think that's why that has such a guitar hard rock feel, is those two guys on the guitars. Could you tell us about the recording process of that, and how did you get Lanny and Oz to work on the album?
Well, Mike Maru had those guys in his phone. He just called them up because he could. Mike Maru did help a lot. With that effort, and Oz Fox was doing concrete work, and I remember him coming in, and his fingers were sore, but
Mhm.
then he just he ripped away just like nothing. He was, and what a awesome nice man, just a great just a great hang. And then Lanny, the same. Lanny, both those guys were just absolute gentlemen and pros, and just came in and just nailed it. The other guy that played on that, Tim, the Guardian guy,
Tony.
Yeah, Tony Palacios
Tony
played.
Palacios played the
Palacios.
rhythm on Steal, Kill, and Destroy.
Hmm.
And that same thing there. We went down. We recorded that down by the beach. I forget what studio that was. Do you remember, Tim?
I don't, but we got friends with Tony though. That was the fun part. You
Yeah.
know, Tony is another one of those gems. I mean, I think he does house mixing for Goki now, and I don't think they actually have him step out and just like rip a solo before Goki comes on. I guess they did that at Red Rocks, but Palacios is a genius as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah.
How come
And
he's not returning my phone calls, Tim? I got a tune for him to play on right now.
Well, his
um,
his instrumental album is really good
yeah,
that he did in the 90s, I guess, and
yeah.
a little bit Satriani type.
Mhm.
Did you guys ever see Guardian live?
No.
I did once, but it was during their Bottle Rocket tour.
Yeah, I always thought, we always say in the business, if you're going to get up on stage, be fun to watch. And those guys were fun to watch. Like Palacios, I just thought he was always, what a great showman, and very appropriate too. He wasn't doing, he just looked great on stage, played so well. It just,
Mhm.
I always thought, wow, we need to take a few lessons from those guys. They were great live. Fun to watch. Be fun to watch.
So with producing that album yourselves, was that the album that you felt you were the most happiest with, or the sound you really were looking for? Or is that kind of a tough question to answer with Hard Hitter? I mean, that thing is just rocking all
Yeah,
the
it's
way
great.
through. I just really love that album. I'm just curious.
Go ahead, Tim.
Well, I think the only album that's going to eclipse that is going to be Veracity. Because once you, I mean, I wish I could just show you what Larry and I have been up to, because there's some stuff on there that is completely, I mean, I'm very excited about it. But
Wow.
that, Cool Water has some great moments on it too. I
Mhm.
would never, like the song Be Someone, I think
Mhm.
that's a great, displays some great rock sensibility too. But I understand the hard hitter
That,
thing, you know.
there must be someone. Dan Huff played the lead guitar on that one.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
actually played on a number of those, like, and then the title cut, "Cool Water," and that guy. So we travel to Nashville and we go to Bill Baumgart's studio. Bill and I, we had the tat where we had Tascam. What were those, Tim? The
D
digital eights, DA88s, and so
yeah.
Bill would come out to LA and rent mine when he was working out there, and then we went to Nashville and rented his whole studio to have Dan Huff come out and play. And so it was kind of a neat relationship in that realm. But another guy that's one of the, we've been very fortunate to work with some of the nicest guys in the world, and Dan Huff is at the top of that too. He just so pro, and he gets
Mhm.
done. He goes, thanks for having me. I hope this goes somewhere for you. And it had its limited success, but we can always say, yeah, we had Dan Huff playing our record. It's kind
Hmm.
of a great feeling.
Yeah, it's amazing all the artists that he's worked with. I mean, even with
Yeah.
Michael Jackson and many
Carrie
others,
Underwood, Carrie
incredible.
Underwood. Yeah. Yeah. And you never want to be the guys that drop names, like you're gonna drop a name so you might, try look better or whatever. I look at it as, what God's the giver of talents.
Hmm.
So he's the one that gets the glory for anybody that does things well. He
Yeah,
was the giver,
yeah,
and that's, we'd say that too. I thank God for Tim's talents and mine. And it's like, God did it. God did it. That's
yeah,
the truth. So
yeah. On Cool Water, though, I know they're probably the mellower songs, but I love Until We're Home and Live by Your Word. Those are just, I don't know, they just hit me in the heart, I guess. And I played those over and over.
well, good. Get on there on the streams and play it some more.
I need some cool water, like a clear, cold river on the 4th of July. I need some cool water, like the sun's in the sky and it's 105, yeah. I'll say goodbye to the drying jelly. It can only make me feel.
Well, then after that album, guys, like it's almost been 30 years, like there's like no more Liaison. If I can ask, like, what were you guys doing in that interim time then? I'm assuming maybe having families, raising your kids, or what was going on for the last 29 years or so?
I can't believe you just said that. 29 years. Go ahead, Tim. You handle this one.
Oh, well, since Larry and I live 1,200 miles apart, of course, we get together maybe a couple times a year, but we talk almost weekly. But during that time period, I played in church a lot. I played in a church that grew from 75 people to over 1,000.
Wow.
A little town in western North Dakota called Watford City had a church that had a very tiny little church that somehow got affected by the oil boom and so on. And like they've got massive, now they have massive production and 4 campuses. And basically, we got a worship leader there named Grayson Long, who is Greg Long's brother, the famous Christian singer who is married to Jana. They're in Avalon. And so Grayson is our worship director at our church. And of course, all through these 29 years you're talking about, it went from 0 to 60 because it was pretty terrible at the beginning. But I got to play with the good end of that deal too. And then I also toured with a country singer named Lexi Wyman. And we got to do a lot of really cool gigs, including opening for Dwight Yoakam, Michael, I better come back to this. I'm going to miss it. So white-haired guy that just died was Michael.
Oh, you got to know when to hold
That guy.
him. No,
Kenny Rogers.
Kenny Loggins?
Rogers.
Or no,
Kenny
Yeah,
Rogers.
Kenny Rogers, yeah.
Right. Wow, I really
The gambler, man, the gambler.
Come on, Tim.
we opened for Josh Turner for 10,000 people. I mean, it was insane. Me and Lexi opened for John Chris, the comedian, which was insane. You know, all of that stuff happened over the years here. And I was, the whole time, Larry and I, we're still kind of like playing around with songwriting, and we never did completely stop. And Larry, I think you produced a couple of albums during that time too, a worship record, I think you did, right?
Well, yeah, Rick Fry's thing. I didn't produce it. I just did the whole thing. Sorry, Rick. No, I worked with him, quite a bit, and he was great. Rick's a great guy. And I don't know. Yeah, producing. I don't know that I really produced anything else. Just like some singles, for some people around, town here, the safe town of Portland. So you guys know what's going on in Portland, don't you?
Yeah.
That's
I don't know if I do, but
yeah, it's good you don't. It's all right.
forgive me.
So then it sounds like roughly in 2021, the ball kind of gets rolling where you're like, okay, let's see if we can really do this. Am I correct? Like, is that the case? You guys just started working, sporadically or whatever, or maybe more than that, or
I got to say, Tim really, got me back into it. He goes, well, we had stuff, we had stuff and we were sending back and forth. And he goes, we might as well just make a new record. And I'm like, okay. And so, here we are. So I think we're about 80% completed.
All right.
Yeah.
Do y'all have a projected release date, or?
You know what? Are you putting pressure on me?
Not trying. Hurry up.
No, I'm surprised Tim hasn't fired me yet. So, there's just.
Well, Larry, you could just tell Gary the release date is when it's done.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, hey, you know what? At least we got the 2 songs out, so.
So regarding the new release then, gentlemen, whenever it is completed, what media will it be released in, and let our viewers know where they can pick it up at?
Tim.
liaisonmusiconline.com. And then as we sort of like formulate a better marketing plan, because we've been toying around with a lot of different marketing mediums, and we still haven't figured out what the correct thing is to do. iTunes is quite a strange place. I think people think, well, why don't you just put it on iTunes? And iTunes is very restrictive, and they have certain ways they do stuff, and they charge a lot of money to do it. So we're kind of looking at a couple different alternative ways to go, but thus far we don't, we could use people's prayers, because it's not easy in this day and age, especially when you have the type of music that it's not Forrest Frank, and it's not Ann Wilson, and it's not worship music. So it's very hard to find a natural path for the marketing part of it.
Mm.
If you could, for our viewers out there, guys. So I'm a physical media guy still. I'm old school. I think, for different reasons, but to each their own. There's no right or wrong as long as you guys, because this is biblical. The Bible says don't muzzle the ox when they're treading out the grain. And in other words, a worker deserves his wages as long as people aren't freeloading, because that's not biblical. So
Right.
I do hope that you guys reap what you deserve, what you sow on the biblical principle there. If you could describe the way that this album is shaping up. Now, gentlemen, I've heard the first two singles. One of them was just yesterday that Larry had sent Rex a file. Forgive me because I'm not overly familiar with the song titles yet, but the very first song that I heard, you don't get to tell me what to do. That's slamming, guys. That song is slamming. I mean, you all weren't kidding.
Awesome.
That was like a hard hitter part two.
Yeah.
I heard the second song yesterday, and it's got a great rocking chorus to it. And both of those clips, small clips, will be for our viewers in the presentation. How would you describe this album as a whole, sonically speaking?
Larry?
Well, here's the thing, I would like the last times we recorded, we didn't record on a computer screen that's 27 inches across and 16 inches tall, right? So we record on Logic, which has been working great. And it's amazing to me what has happened with sonics in the computer world. It's like we've got access to everything we had to have, in a big studio, big recording studio, sitting right here on our desks, and it sounds better, right? And so the guy who played drums, Dean Ogden, lives in Indonesia. Okay, so I send tracks to Indonesia, and he has a drum room, and he records the drums, and he's great at doing it, and he sounds great. So, with the advancements in technology, it's just going to be better. And then, same with the mixing. My son mixed the "If I Were to Die" song with my counsel, so to speak, and that my kid, I wish he'd come in here so you guys could meet him. He just has a lot, of knowledge of compressors and EQs and all the things that make, that separate out the parts so you can hear them like they're supposed to, and so I would just say it's just going to be better. I think this one will be and Kevin Jackson, bless that guy, he's awesome. He mixed You Don't Get to Tell Me What to Do and did a phenomenal job on that, and that'll lead off the record. That's going to, he did such a good job on it. So, we always A/B things with old stuff and other artists, to try, you got to compete. And so, we're pretty happy with what's going on. So.
You don't get to tell me what to do. You don't get to tell me what to do. You don't get to tell me what to do. What to believe, what to think, what to say.
One of the hallmarks for me of Liaison that you all did so well is you all have the big vocals.
Yeah.
And that's still present from the two songs that I've heard. How do you guys, I don't know if the process is different now, but back in the day when y'all were doing, I'm guessing analog back then.
Yep.
Would you guys have to go back and re-record a bunch of vocals to get that wonderful big bombastic sound? Because it's still present in your work.
Yeah. The beauty is we're unlimited tracks. So like the songs you've heard, there's probably 100+ tracks on each of those. And when I'm stacking up the vocals, so to speak, you cut one good one all the way through, that would be considered the lead vocal, and then I just stack myself, singing them. Like on the choruses, I'll sing the melody 4 more times for a stereo pair, harmony 4 more times for stereo pair. Back when we were working with Bill, I think he had me sing the lead vocal in every, you couldn't cut and paste, right? Back then, you had to sing pretty much every chorus, and then he'd have me do it 12 times, and then it has to match. And so Bill would be like, nope, nope. He goes, okay, that's a good one, and then we just keep going, right? So it's basically stacking up the vocals, which people have done forever,
Yeah.
But now it's easy. It's so easy to do it, right?
Mhm.
Create another track. Poof, done.
Well, that song we're talking about, If I Were to Die, Larry, and thank you so much for sending that to me. That song's just grabbed me. To me, it's the perfect blend of melody and rock. I cannot wait for the whole album. I can just tell it is going to be even better than Hard Hitter. I can just sense it from what I've heard.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And, we think it's going to be our best effort. Maybe everybody does their latest thing is going to be their best, but I really, truly believe this one is. We're hoping listeners listen to the whole thing and go, just like Kent said, there's not, I like every song. And that's your goal, as an artist. You want people to like or love, how about this? Love every song and get what we're talking about in there. That's one thing I like what we're doing. It's like, and this is one thing we talked about before we started. Is like, we have stuff to say. We do. We want to talk about truth. We want to talk about, the kingdom and where this is going, because, we're, as every moment ticks by, we're getting closer to the end. It's just the way it is. And you can see what's going on in this world. Lawlessness will be increased. Think about how much that has increased in the last 3-4 years.
Yeah.
It's amazing, right? So, we want to address that in what God's given us, and that's what we're doing.
Awesome.
So, I mean, probably for sure it'll be out sometime next year, right, guys?
Yeah, you know what? I would say March.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Okay.
I can't wait.
So,
If you look right over there, I've got a mic set up right there with acoustic guitar right there. So I'm doing some acoustic guitar work right now. I should be doing that right now instead of talking to you guys.
Is that a Martin, Larry?
What's that?
Is that a Martin?
That's a seagull from Canada.
Okay.
You have to ask yourself, Canada, what went wrong?
oh my.
This is my carry-on. Yeah, my carry-on. I left my baggage, and this is my carry-on. This is my carry-on. Yeah, my carry-on. My faithful companion. This is my carry-on. Yeah, my carry-on.
So again, where can fans and friends connect with you? What was the website address again?
Tim.
Liaisonmusiconline.com.
Okay. And then are you guys on any other social media platforms or anything that friends and fans can connect with you or not?
Yes, Facebook, the Liaison official Facebook page.
Okay.
And then we're signed up for some of the other ones too. It's just that we don't have any content. So that's kind of a problem, isn't it?
Gotcha.
Not yet.
Gotcha.
Not yet.
Gotcha.
We will.
Well, we're kind of winding down here, guys. Ken or Gary, do you have any other questions or comments for the guys?
I don't think I do. Just to say again, it's a real pleasure to meet you guys, and you've been one of my favorites for many years. So and I'm stoked about the new release coming up.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, buddy.
It's just want to say it truly is an honor, very big honor to meet you all. Thank you, and thank you for the great music with the greatest message that you've given to us throughout the
Yeah.
years. All glory to the Lord.
Amen.
Man.
Yeah,
You know,
thank
and
you
I'll say
guys for
this
doing
too.
this.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'll say this too. We appreciate and are very, honored to have guys like you that actually care about it, because that's really what it takes to make anything successful and get it out. So we greatly appreciate you guys too, very much so. In fact,
Yes.
you reached out, and here we are talking about it. It's a pleasure. So thank you.
Sir.
Well, and we say this to a lot of people that we interview, but like I'm not sure if you guys realize it or not. And Kent kind of was talking about that earlier, but like you guys were kind of like our youth ministers. I
Mhm.
don't know if you realize that, because a lot of our churches kind of poo-pooed that kind of music. And so I
Mhm.
don't know if you
Yeah.
guys realize that, you guys were kind of ministering to us. And I just hope you realize that and what that means to us. So thank you.
Thanks for saying
Thank
so.
you. Appreciate it.
Sure. So, kind of in closing here, what would each of you like to say to your friends and fans, and/or what words of wisdom would you like to share with everyone?
Read your Bible.
Amen to that.
Read your Bible. You know, you know. I think one of the songs on the record is called Hyperbole, and we talk about there's a lot of false prophets. There's a lot of false things going on in the church, and it's that's why you always need to be grounded in the Bible. It's like
Yes.
there's and out of 26 out of the 27 books in the New Testament, there's a warning about such things.
Mhm.
So, and I'm not going to recite a bunch of scripture right now, but it's in there.
Yeah.
And that's something that's really gripped me a lot, just because and I'm not going to say people's names right now, but there's a bunch that we need to mark and avoid. And
Yeah.
it's like, that's a pretty big deal. And it says that too, they'll make merchandise of you. You got
Mhm.
people selling, here's how to speak in tongues, and here's how to prophesy. Like they're going to teach you a gift that comes from God.
Right.
And that's just wrong to me. So,
Right.
I hope I
Mhm.
didn't step on anybody's toes,
Nope.
but
No.
Good is being called evil, and evil is being called good in this day and age. And
Yep.
woe to those who do that.
Yep, exactly. So, yeah. Tim,
Okay.
you got anything?
Well, I just say that if we could talk to our fans, I would just say that pray for us, because it's hard to do this when you have a regular life to lead at the same time, and it's hard to hold up the standard that we've tried to hold up over the years. And it takes a lot of work, and nobody works harder than my brother. He has to do all of the vocal work and so on. It's just pray for him that he has the strength to continue on and follow through on what we believe is a mission that God has set us upon.
Amen.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks,
Thank
Tim.
Well, we close out all of our episodes with something we call Message from Home. And it's a verse of scripture that we feel either relates to the band, an album, or a song. And on Hard Hitter, there's a song entitled Attitude. And I think this verse of scripture talks about that and how to live our lives. And it's Philippians chapter 2, verse 5. And it says, in your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus. And
Mhm.
I think that's good advice that Paul gives us, and our attitude just steers our whole life. And so if we can just, it's kind of the rudder. So if we can just have the right attitude, like God and Jesus, that's what that's what he wants us to do. I just want to
Amen.
thank you guys for giving your time to talk with us, and thank you, Gary, for joining us. And just want to wave goodbye to all our friends. But if you guys could stick around just for a second, that would be awesome. So we're just going to kind of wave goodbye here, folks.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
If I were to you die.